Hello everybody, Tuxedo T-shirt here. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. This summer, I watched a film on Netflix with my fiance that was truly terrible. It's something that my fiance and I like to do every few weekends. I assume a lot of people do this. You throw on a terrible looking movie on Netflix. You sit back, you pay attention most of the time. You just enjoy it for what it is, a crappy movie that's, 90 minutes long. And one of the movies that my fiance and I watched this past summer was called The Edge of 17. The Edge of 17, I'd never heard of it. I'd never seen any ads for it. I literally didn't know anything about it before I sat down to watch this on Netflix. I thought it was terrible. We had a great laugh, my fiance and I, about what it is. And what I later found out after Googling it after the fact, because I wanted to just see the reaction that people had had, because it seemed like a pretty new movie. As it turns out, it came out in 2016. The movie was critically acclaimed and more than doubled its budget. It was made for a $9 million budget, and the box office return was $18.8 million. It has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is astounding to me. And a lot of people have championed it as this amazing, game-changing coming-of-age film. To quote here on Wikipedia, IGN reviewer Alex Welsh gave the film an 8 out of 10, saying, Kelly Fremon Craig's The Edge of 17 is a pitch-perfect portrait of youth and the struggles of learning to accept yourself for who you are. It'll have you laughing and crying, sometimes in the same scene, and never feels anything other than sincere and authentic. Well, this film, and I'm not going to give a spoiler warning, because literally the first time we ever see the girl's main character is played, by the way, by Haley Sendwith. I believe that's how you say her name. Sorry, Haley Steinfeld. That was completely wrong. Haley Steinfeld. The first time you see her father in the movie, the first little interaction they have, I literally turned to my fiance and said, "So when is he dying?" And sure enough, within the first 5 minutes of the film, he's killed. And it's, essentially meant to put her in a situation where she's isolated. And, after establishing this nice and genuinely cute little father-daughter relationship that they have, she doesn't get along with her mother. She doesn't get along with her brother, evidently. They kill him off just to make her feel angsty. It's kind of like the girl in the fridge trope, but with a father. The father in the fridge. If you will. And it just goes downhill from there. Now, there are some decent parts of this movie. I'm not saying that everything's terrible. I think Haley Steinfeld is fine. I think that a lot of the performances actually are fine. I just can't stand the way that this character is written. It is one of the most selfish characters I've ever encountered in any fictitious form of media that I've ever taken in, whether you're talking about television, film, books, whatever. The best friend of this person, and Haley Steinfeld has a great little best friend who's very supportive of her. There's a scene about 50 minutes into the movie where the mother announces that she's going on a date with somebody, and Haley Steinfeld's character takes that opportunity to talk to her brother in graphic detail about what her mom's going to be doing on the date, which of course grosses him out because nobody wants to hear about their mom getting it down on a date. And then she says that for the length of time that her mother's gone, she gets the house. So right there, she treats her brother like garbage for no reason, and then claims the house for the whole time that she's gone. The brother ends up bringing friends to the house a little bit later, and at that point, the brother and the best friend end up hooking up. And I can understand how if you're, a girl in high school, it might be a little bit strange for your best friend to be romantically involved with your brother. But the way that this character responds is unbelievably inappropriate. She literally breaks off her friendship with her best friend because her brother apparently is just horrible. Now, her brother, not that I can remember, granted it's been a week or two since I watched the movie, I don't think he ever really does or says anything inappropriate to her. She is always the antagonistic one, which is strange. You'd think that the story would be about the brother dealing with this crazy sister, but no, it's about this sister dealing with this brother. And I guess part of her issue with him is that she's insecure about the fact that he's really popular and really good looking. But first of all, Haley Steinfeld is not, an unfortunate looking person. And secondly, if they were going to go with this angle, why would he not at least do something or say something that makes the audience go, oh, geez, this girl really does have a point. That's too bad the way that she's been, she's being criticized unfairly or treated rudely. So she ends this friendship, her only friendship that she has, over something as silly as just her best friend dating her brother, who she doesn't like for reasons that don't make any sense. Later on in the film, she starts hanging out with this boy who turns out to literally be a millionaire who lives in a mansion by himself, even though he's in high school because his parents are traveling. The boy is sweet, kind, funny, smart, and yet she doesn't want anything to do with him romantically, even though he's infatuated her for reasons that were never made clear. So she just disses him, and then in another part of the movie, she sends this super illicit message to an older guy she's only ever met once, because I guess she finds him attractive, and so she sends this very graphic message about things that she wants to do to him, and sure enough, he responds and says, okay, sounds great. And so they get together, and I was kind of thinking at this point, okay, he's going to force himself on her. This is going to be kind of where we see this character really, suffer some unfortunate circumstances. There's going to be some ugliness here. There's going to be some, non-consensual things, and this is going to be what gets us, just some semblance of sympathy for this character, because at that point, I just saw her as a spoiled brat. And the irony of ironies is, as soon as he makes a move in the car, he does it twice. She's accepting it first, and then as soon as she tells him to stop, he does. And at no point does he try to up the ante. At no point does he, try to convince her or get even really get that angry. I believe he even offers to drive her home. He's, he's rough around the edges, but he's essentially a perfect gentleman. He never tries to, do anything untoward. There's certainly no, nothing even remotely resembling something like a sexual assault. He gets a message that contains, graphic details about things that she wants him to do. And then in the moment, she says, actually, no, sorry. And he basically says, okay, that's fine. I'll take you home. I do like the relationship in this movie between Haley Steinfeld and Woody Harrelson. She's also terrible to Woody Harrelson. She makes fun of his baldness. She makes fun of the fact that he's going to die alone. She says just awful things, and then it turns out that he's actually married to a really beautiful woman, and they have a child together. And I think there's a lot to be said about this character, that she never even took the time to just realize the fact that this teacher who she goes to confide in and all these things is even married. Like, she wouldn't even know that about Woody Harrelson. Now, Woody Harrelson again is great, but my bottom line with this is, I'm sorry, I've never met, if this is a coming of age story, theoretically it's something that young people are supposed to look at and lead as an example for their life. Things like The Breakfast Club, that was a movie I watched growing up that I thought spoke to me as a teenager, and my, sometimes feelings of isolation or not fitting in. More recently, I think Perks of Being a Wallflower did an excellent job of telling a coming-of-age story. Before that, Stand By Me. The kids are a little bit younger in that movie, but I think Stand By Me, the Stephen King story, I believe the short story was called The Body, and then the film was called Stand By Me. The Goonies was my favorite movie growing up. That's a great, again, a little bit younger than teenage years, but still, like that, there's lots of great coming-of-age stories that I can think of just off the top of my head. And the fact that this appears to be the latest one that everyone is trumpeting as being great is frankly, I think, sad and a little bit disturbing. One last thing, this character, at one point she steals her mom's car, in addition to just all the horrible things that she regularly does and says to people. And I understand that part of it comes from her feelings of insecurity and all that. But the only person she apologizes to in this movie is her brother. She's done and said awful things to a bunch of people. The only person who she really reconciles with is her brother. They hug at one point because he says to her, the way that he's feeling. You know, she's never once realized that, hey, he's also had to deal with his father's death, and he has to deal with being the man of the house, and he has to be the one who deals with their mother when she flies off the handle a little bit. And he has to be the one to try to get the mother and the sister to get along. And yet you know, the one nice thing in his life is this relationship, who his sister, you know, has done everything in her power to thwart and demonizes on every level. So, you know, there's one moment where she will, you know, she will not be so unbelievably obtuse and insensitive that she'll apologize. She does also kind of apologize to the love interest at the end of the film, but to me, you know, by and large, this character, her name is Nadine, is again one of the most selfish, just unbelievably bad role models. I think for young people, male or female. You know, clearly there's a lot of this movie that other people got that I just didn't. I missed the boat on this one. You know, again, it was very popular, and I was frankly just absolutely stunned to learn that. We had a great laugh, my fiance and I, watching this movie. If you're looking for something terrible to just throw on Netflix one day when you're bored and it's, you know, a Saturday evening and you don't want to go out, put on The Edge of 17 and let me know what you think. If you've seen the movie, drop a comment. Again, am I totally off base on this? I couldn't believe it, frankly, when I saw the response that this movie got, the amount of money that it made. I thought that this was going to be, you know, a movie that came out and just absolutely rung hollow with people because, again, it falters so poorly compared to so many of the other coming-of-age films that are out there, and yet people seem to love it. So let me know what you think. Sorry for the long break between videos. I'll have another one coming out soon. Quickly to touch on my NFL draft video. Just want to point out that when I talked about the NFL draft, I said very clearly that the Browns shouldn't reach at number 1, because I had a lot of people asking me about the draft. The Browns shouldn't reach at 1. Instead, they should pick positional players with each of their top 3 picks. And then if at some point they felt like there was a bargain pick at the quarterback position, they should make that, but not necessarily rush them into the lineup. Not hesitate to play a journeyman quarterback like a Brian Hoyer or Josh McCown, guys they've had in the past. And they've done that. And they actually, this video is coming out just after week 1 was played. It actually was a pretty good week for the Browns. They lost to the Steelers by 3. Steelers are a great team. And I think the Browns did really well in the first round. Myles Garrett, by all accounts, is going to be an absolute stud at defensive end. The Browns also got Jabril Peppers and David Njoku, the tight end, who's just a physical freak. So if those picks, I mean, obviously it's way too early to say anything about whether the picks, you know, are good, whether they're bad, whatever. But my point is, the Browns, I think, did the right thing, at least deciding, hey, we're not going to reach for a quarterback. We're not going to trade up to get Mitch Trubisky at 2 like the Chicago Bears did. We're not going to reach on Patrick Mahomes. We're not going to reach on Deshaun Watson. We're going to stay the course. We're going to build the rest of our roster first and then add the quarterback. I will say this, too, because Deshaun Watson looked pretty good in week 1. At least the Texans, when they picked that player, had a lot of stuff around him. They have a decent offensive line. They have an absolute stud wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. Their defense is one of the very, very best in the NFL. That's the situation where you plug a rookie quarterback in. Not what the Browns have right now in, you know, a bunch of, frankly, underperforming and poor players. You know, if you do that, then you get David Carr all over again. So I like the way that they're developing, and again, guys, I'll hit you up with another video in just the next few days. Till next time, I'm Tuxedo T-Shirt, and I'm out.